The Self-Publishing Advice Conference, SelfPubCon 2025, brings indie authors from around the world together for 2 days of insight, inspiration, and connection. It's live online October 18 and 19 and free to attend. Get early access to our international competition and all the latest conference updates at selfpublishingadvice.org/conference-2025. Welcome to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by Publish Me, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, Publish Me ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And now, here's your host for Self-Publishing with Ally, Dan Holloway.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing News, and congratulations to start off with to Laszlo Krasznahorki, who won this year's Nobel Prize for Literature, which was announced at the end of last week. It's always something that's a highlight of my literary year. I do obviously wait for the time when the first indie author might be mentioned in the prize, but nonetheless, it's something to celebrate for everyone who loves literature. And one of the things I like about it, as I have mentioned many times before, is the way that a single sentence is always used to convey exactly why someone has won the prize. It always feels like one of those real lessons in concision of prose and how to edit things down to their bare bones. Of course, the Nobel Prize is awarded for, and I quote, taking literature in an ideal direction. And this year, Krasznahorki has taken things in an ideal direction, quote, for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that, in the midst of apocalyptic terror, reaffirms the power of art. And that feels like something we can probably all get behind. It's also really interesting because Krasznahorki is one of those authors who is much celebrated in the English language despite being Hungarian, in part because not only of his skill, but of the skill of his translator, George Szirtes, who is in his own right one of the UK's most celebrated poets. So the value of translation, and indeed human translation, is something that we can also celebrate as the result of this, and that is something that definitely resonates with us as indies. So the big news that came at the end of last week is that Baker & Taylor has finally decided to shutter itself permanently after more than 100 years in business. So Baker & Taylor is one of the leading book distributor wholesalers. Its operations in the US were focused mainly on distributing physical books to libraries. Previously, it had been active in the UK. I think I reported on its closing down operations in the UK, it feels like 4 or 5 years ago. And now it has announced that at the start of 2026, it will be shutting its operations for good. This obviously leaves a gap when it comes to how books are distributed. And interestingly, there are already some stories about how that gap might be filled. So Ingram is something that's a distributor you will all be familiar with. So especially those who use Ingram Spark, your works will often be distributed to outlets through Ingram, and they are looking to fill that gap. But also mooted has been Amazon, and that is very interesting because, and as I noted in a story I found on Publishers Weekly, Amazon had very quietly launched a potential distribution service earlier this year, and now it looks as though they may be looking to move into the space of distributing more widely that has been filled by Baker or left by Baker & Taylor, and that is something that obviously may well be of interest to those of us who publish and distribute through Amazon or through KDP Print, because it may offer us a more easy way of getting our physical books into libraries. So yeah, interesting possibilities. Obviously, it's never It's never good when a major player like this leaves the market, and it always leaves a certain amount of uncertainty. But it seems as though the potential to fill that hole is not necessarily going to be one that is damaging for us. And talking of concerns and worries, Spotify has yet again changed its terms of service. And as we know, it did so recently and caused all sorts of concerns. So the most recent but one update to Spotify's terms of service was when they announced that their content, as they put it, content that was going to be uploaded might be used for their in-house AI platform. Creators got very worried, and Spotify had to issue a subsequent press release stating that what they had meant was content that was uploaded by listeners, such as covers for playlists, and that they were not going to be training any AI on the actual content of creators that was uploaded to their site. This time, their announcement has come with a paragraph that shows that they have taken this to heart and that they wanted to state up front that they were not changing their terms for creators. And I will quote, "In full, throughout the experience, artists' and creators' work stays protected. Spotify will not share music, podcasts, or any other audio or video content on our platform with OpenAI for training purposes." So very clear, getting that up front. And the reason they cite OpenAI is because the latest announcement is that they are forming a link with ChatGPT. And the way this will work is that if you go to ChatGPT and type in anything that mentions Spotify, it will ask you if you want to open your Spotify account. And the purpose of this apparently is to enable people to have curated playlists or to use their information about their Spotify account to help with answering ChatGPT prompts. That may or may not be useful. I know some people like ChatGPT to do stuff like making playlists for them or recommendations. But if they do that, it is not going to be the case that any created content that has been uploaded to Spotify is going to be sent to OpenAI. And if people do connect their Spotify and their ChatGPT accounts, they can be disconnected at any time. So I think people might be concerned about the amount of link that Spotify is making with AI companies. They are a tech company, first and foremost. They have also stated that they are very passionate about their relationship with creators and writers in particular. And it seems that they have learnt some lessons from the previous outrage that they caused by not clarifying things up front, and are now being transparent at the point of release of new features, which I have to say feels like a positive step. And finally, we're coming up as the Halloween and spooky season approaches. That means that we are coming up to what would traditionally have been NaNoWriMo, which is obviously the month-long writing challenge that takes place every November, in which authors are challenged to write 50,000 words over a month. NaNoWriMo fell very much out of favour when it made some controversial statements about AI. The creative community very much took against it, and I believe that it has actually now shuttered as an organisation, so that NaNoWriMo, in its official context, is no longer a thing. That leaves a gap, and that gap has been filled by Reedsy. So Reedsy is the sort of editorial matchmaking service which enables authors to find trusted and high-quality editing and other professionals. And Reedsy has launched what it calls the Reedsy Novel Sprint, which, in a not bothering to reinvent the wheel but doing something with a tried and trusted formula way, is a challenge to complete 50,000 words. And writers have to do that by the end of November, and there seems to be a prize involved. So unlike NaNoWriMo, which was just like a personal growth challenge, there is a prize. There's $5,000, and you can get an intro to a literary agent. So I think the top 6 The top 6 entries or the top 6 works produced as a result of Reedsy Novel Sprint are going to get prizes. And the point that they are stressing is that there will be no AI permitted. So that is clearly a dig at NaNoWriMo. So for those of you who miss the challenge of writing 50,000 words in November, you can prepare yourself for a new challenge and possibly win some money along the way. And with that said, I will leave you to get preparing your manuscripts and very much look forward to speaking to you again at the same time next week, at which time I will no doubt be reporting on what has happened at SelfPubCon. And I obviously invite you to join us all at SelfPubCon this weekend.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by PublishMe, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, PublishMe ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our association and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.